Hello, superfans, and welcome to Alberta News and Views. The world got to see the real Mark Carney today. He held a press conference in London, and he was asked about all of his assets in a blind trust, and he did not like that one bit. Mark Carney is an ultra-globalist elitist. He is part of the ruling class, and he feels that he shouldn't have to answer questions from regular Canadians because he is above us. It is unbelievable the way that he tries to just end conversations and shut down these reporters, these journalists. It's astounding. It is truly just astounding, the arrogance of these guys. He has a responsibility to tell the truth. Do something different than Justin Trudeau, please. Anything. He's incapable of it because he was giving Justin Trudeau orders. Now we are dealing with him, and it is just the same thing. The same unethical, shameless, despicable government. Watch this.
And where we have responsibilities, not what others are doing. Madam.
Mr. Carney, Stephanie Levitz with Globe and Mail. We understand that you have now placed your assets in a blind trust, so you don't know what's happening to them going forward, but you knew what they were going into that blind trust. So what are they?
Look, Stephanie, I follow the rules of the Ethics Commissioner. I'm following them well in advance of any of the requirements, as you know, because I know you know this. You know that these requirements come into effect in months. We're talking days after I became Prime Minister. So I'm complying with the rules of the Ethics Commissioner, going through the processes and all these things that are necessary. And I will remind you, and I'll remind Canadians again, that the Leader of the Opposition cannot find it. And look, you look at the questions this evening, you look at the nature of the discussions, you look at the nature of discussions I had with the President of France, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The Leader of the Opposition would not be capable of having those discussions because the Leader of Opposition refuses to get his security clearance, something that it took me a few weeks to get. And he has been the Leader of the Opposition for 3 years. So I comply with my responsibilities, I comply with the rules well in advance, and the Leader of the Opposition doesn't take his responsibilities at a time of, well, you should take these responsibilities at any time, but it's particularly remarkable given the stakes in global geopolitics at the moment.
The rules say that those assets should be publicly disclosed within 120 days, which means you'll campaign in a coming federal election, most likely within the next 120 days, and are serving as Prime Minister now, with Canadians not being aware of what potential conflicts of interest
What possible conflict would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance. Point final.
Are you saying you are not open to any conflict of interest?
Yes.
Trump spent most of his life in the private sector. There's no possible conflict of interest in your assets. It's very difficult to believe.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary. I mean, you start from a prior of conflict and ill will. I have served in the private sector. I have stood up for Canada. I have left my roles in the private sector at a time of crisis for our country. I'm complying with all the rules. Your line of questioning is trying to invent new rules. I'm complying with the rules that Parliament has laid out and the responsibilities of the Ethics Commissioner. And I will continue to comply with those rules.
Whatever that was, he was busted. It doesn't matter if he's following the rules or not. Justin Trudeau and half the Liberal Party all have ethics violations and nothing's happening to them. And now he says, well, I'm just following the rules. This is why we want to know, because they break the rules and nothing happens to them. It's going to be the same old crap all over again. Continuing on. So Michael Barrett says Mark Carney is trying to trick Canadians, saying he put his assets in a blind trust. But the truth is, it isn't blind at all. The only ones who are blind are Canadians because Carney refuses to tell them the truth. Mark Carney knows exactly what assets he holds and how his decisions will affect them. He is the most conflicted prime minister in Canadian history. Canadians can't trust Carney to put Canada's interests ahead of his own, just like when he moved his company headquarters from Canada to New York City. Mark Carney must immediately provide a full disclosure of his financial interests and reveal to the public the conflict of interest plan that he sent to the ethics commissioner. He will not. Or he'll make up a half-baked thing and then push it through to make it look like he did. Just like signing an executive order for the carbon tax. Give me a break. Continuing on, this is from Pierre Poilievre. Mark Carney says that having a carbon tax in Canada is a requirement to trade overseas. He is talking about green credits, that scam. Nonsense. Taxing our energy will simply punish our businesses and ship jobs abroad, just like when Carney supported carbon taxes in Canada while his company invested in American, Australian, and Chinese coal. Only conservatives will axe the tax. Listen to this.
Guess what one of the requirements is to diversify trade to the European Union? Guess what one of the requirements is to diversify trade to the United Kingdom? Guess what one of the requirements will be to diversify trade to emerging Asia? Is to have a form of price on carbon. So we are able to think one step ahead. Guess what?
It's not even implemented yet, and this is the whole point of Mark Carney, is to implement this the green credit scam that needs to be implemented globally. It's just another form of currency. That's all it is. It's another form of fake currency to supply trade and trade lines, supply lines all across the globe. It's disgusting because it all comes with a social credit system and a digital currency and a digital identification, because it is the only way that it will work. It was the whole point of the carbon tax all along. It has absolutely nothing to do with climate. And if anybody out there at this point believes that this government actually cares about climate, you can't be helped. Truly, you can't be helped. It's the same thing with this ethics violation stuff with this blind assets. Do you think liberal voters even care at this point? Seriously, they all have mass formation psychosis, Stockholm syndrome. They're done. Their brains are fried. They will do whatever the screen in front of them tells them to do, as long as they can virtue signal and not identify as a conservative at the end of the day. Canada is in rough waters right now. All roads lead to Western independence. I'm going to keep you updated with as much as I can when I can. All of you out there, like, share, and take care. Follow me on Substack, Spotify, and YouTube. You know, it truly is crazy to think how divided Canada could be very quickly. European Union could be half of Canada. You could have Quebec joining France, and you could have Alberta and Saskatchewan and Yukon and whoever else part of the United States. And Canada instantly just gets broken apart. And the reason is like that, the reason that would be is because we don't have an identity anymore. Lots of immigrants are here, fractured the population, lots of different cultures, and lots of resources. We are defenseless, and everybody wants a piece of the pie. All of you out there, take care.